I'm like, what's going on? Let me up. All righty. Cece, you ready? I had this song, Take Me Through There, Take Me Through There. I had that in
Oh
my head. I
no,
don't know
not
why.
that song, Lord
I know.
jeez.
Like I said, I don't know why. At all, I don't know why. Because that is
Oh
not the
gosh,
song.
not that song.
I was like, one day I seen it and they was like, this was the number one song. I said, and why?
Right? They play it so much here in North Carolina, it's ridiculous.
Oh my goodness.
They play it so much. I got me a new stand so now y'all can see me.
Yes. Hi, boo. With your Petra braids.
I know. You like it?
Yes.
Thank
Uh,
you.
You old enough to know who Patra was.
Yeah. They don't know who
Um,
Petra is.
mm.
That's
Hello,
oldies.
everyone. Welcome to OVC. Come on in. Tap, tap, tap the screen. Take your shoes off. Get ready for some good conversation. We're going to be talking to Mr. Max Diaz tonight, who is running for South Carolina's 1st District for the House of Representatives. So, yep, y'all come on in. Come on in. Like I said, tap, 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 tap. That screen, send it out. Share it. Let me share it. Hold on. I forgot to share. Let me share mine, repost, and put on my page. Add it to my. All right. And yeah, make sure y'all sending out this live. And especially if you know someone in South Carolina, send it to them. But I mean, this person is going to is trying to go to the House of Representatives, so they will be also responsible for laws in our lives too. They have to they get a little check. We'll be watching C-SPAN, trying to see if Max voted yes or did he vote no.
Right. And this is very special for me, Brother Mel, because my husband is listening. And because this is his district.
Oh yeah. Okay.
This is his district. I even invited my in-laws, so you may see them in here. I told them you need to come on, one of my family, because this is really important, especially in South Carolina. This is really, really important.
Awesome, awesome. Hello, everybody. Miss Pam, Miss Misty, Miss Trish, Miss Blessings, Miss Nikki. Who else did I forget? Miss Joni. Higher levels. Y'all come on in here. I see y'all. All right, y'all come on in. Come on in. And we're going to get started soon as Mr. Diaz get here. Let me tell y'all a little bit about Mr. Diaz. Just a few things. I'm going to get to some more in depth about it once you get in here. But he is running as a Democratic candidate for the 1st District, Congressional District of South Carolina. And let's see, which is, let me see if I got that information.
Of the district?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I can tell you.
Okay.
I can tell you. So he's in, so District 1 is the coastal of South Carolina. So you have Charleston, Mount Pleasant, North Charleston, Somerville, Beaufort, Hilton Head Island, and Georgetown. Yeah, that's where my husband and their family and his family.
You know, that's where my family is from, Georgetown.
What?
Well,
so we cousins?
Well, the area, the main area is Georgetown, but their town is Sanford.
Okay.
Yes. But
I
they
think so.
Sanford is a small town in the Georgetown region. Like my
Gotcha.
aunt, when I would go to South Carolina for the summers, my aunt worked at Myrtle Beach, so she would have to drive 45 minutes
Yes.
to get to Myrtle Beach because
Yep.
that's where the jobs were. They wasn't, nowhere near where she was, so she would have to drive all the way there, all the way back. I mean, Sanford is so small. We would have to drive to the 30-mile marker in order to get the Domino's pizza. But I mean, this way back in the day. I'm sure they've come up a little bit. I've been there. When did I go there? Probably mid 2000s.
Okay.
And they had paved the roads since I had been there as a young girl.
Yeah.
It was all dirt roads then, but they since put pavement down, and you can drive along them roads now. But
Yeah, they updated a lot down there. Yeah.
So, yeah, we could be family, girl. We do look alike.
I know, right?
So coastal South Carolina is going to be Max's district. We know there's a lot of history in Charleston. It was one of the first ports for the slave trade, and one of the first ports even with the colonial America came in. So Charleston, South Carolina is rich in history. We also know a lot about the Geechee people that was there.
Yep.
In that area. And
they're still there.
Yeah, they're still there.
Still there.
These are the island folks there. And we don't think about South Carolina having islands, right? We know, we say about Florida or even maybe. Does California have islands? I don't know. But, or Hawaii or whatever. But South Carolina has some islands off of its shores.
Yeah.
That's, like I said, it doesn't get spoke about much. They got
some good seafood, though from Georgetown.
Yeah, Georgetown. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's at the Myrtle Beach. I just, as much as I love those beach houses, that's up on the stilts and stuff, I don't trust them. But they
That's
look
how it
good.
is in Murrells Inlet. And Murrells Inlet, which is on the coast as well, they are on those stilts.
Yep.
And when my husband took me there, I said, "Oh, I love it here." But I'm like, if I want a house, I'm like you, but I don't want the stilts either.
Right, but I like how they look, like the aestheticness of them. But I just see a wave coming in and just knocking us down.
Right.
So, we just talking a little bit about South Carolina, y'all, as we wait on Mr. Diaz to come on in here. If anyone sees him in the comments or the chat, y'all make sure y'all request him up. And if any of you have been to South Carolina, put where you've been. It's a huge state. I mean, it's like I said, it's one of the ones that a lot of people don't talk about, but it's a big state.
Yes.
So just let us know. I mean, we have Columbia and Greenville. You have Charleston. You have
Orangeburg.
Beach. You have Blackbird. So yeah, y'all tell me where. Oh look, I forgot to put. Let me put my thing back on here. Look, let me get some love still. It's still my birthday nugget. All right. See that? That's a birthday
Happy
girl.
Birthday, Buttermilk, Miss Melanie.
That's a birthday girl. Anyway, so let me know if you've been to South Carolina. Where have you been? If you haven't, put a thumbs down for me. Put a thumbs down if you have not been to South Carolina, because then I'm going to be mad because you have not been to at least Myrtle Beach. Now,
my favorite place to be.
They do call it Dirty Myrtle, though.
Myrtle.
But you have, thank you, Mike. It is still one of the great places to go. Oh, so no, okay,
really?
no, y'all haven't been to South Carolina. Oh, See, like I said, because I had family there growing up. Okay, you've been to Columbia, all right.
Okay.
This person said I went to Myrtle Beach for bike week senior year. Okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing, bike week. See, but they got two different bike weeks now.
Yes.
We got two
Yes.
different bike weeks happening in Myrtle Beach.
Yes. One is
So
2 weeks and the other one is 1 week. So you can guess which one is what.
won't give us too much time, okay?
Right.
So, but you know, being from the East Coast, that was South Carolina's where we went to do stuff. You
Yeah.
know, like that was as south as we could go. And truth be told, that is one of my favorite spots. It's south of the border. I mean, like you can't go. You can't you going to the southern part once you hit that south of the border. So it's one of my favorites. What is it like? Destination points or whatever. Or
Yes, that's like
yes.
the halfway point in between South and North Carolina. That's when you know. And come on, Buttermilk, you forgot the most important thing in Myrtle Beach, the Calabash.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes.
Come on.
I mean, I love the South. Like it's ingrained in my spirit. So I have some deep affinity for the South, and I can't wait to talk to Mr. Diaz about it.
Me too.
But Calabash, yes, girl.
The Calabash. I like the Benjamin one. So my sister-in-law put me on
And
that.
here he is. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey there, sorry about that.
No problem, Max. And thank you for having your background up. We're gonna get you in the big box. There we go. Perfect. So glad to have you here. We was just reminiscing about South Carolina. I was telling everyone that I visited a little town called Sanford, South Carolina. Growing up as a young girl, my family lived there. They had family land there. And this young lady here, Miss Sianca, her husband grew up there. And so she has major ties to that area. Which area is it again?
Georgetown.
Georgetown, okay.
So we was just reminiscing about South Carolina and telling everybody if they have not been, it is one of the great places in this here United States to go, right? You agree?
No, it's very nice. I heard you guys mention south of the border. It's one of the, I mean, that was when I moved down here as a kid. I was 11. That was my introduction. That was the first thing I ever saw when I
Yes.
when I got into South Carolina. So
I look, whenever I'm going south, I know I'm almost there when I hit south of the border. I mean, I really wish somebody buy it and revamp it, because it has definitely been, you know, it torn down. Like the businesses aren't thriving there anymore. If they are still open at all.
They are.
I mean, I know it's some that still are, but it's not like when I was a kid.
No, not like how it was.
It was like an amusement park.
Yeah,
it's not
the amusement park. That's done.
yeah, no, it still looks like that from a distance. I remember a year or two ago, I stopped there on a road trip and I was shocked at how like desolate it was.
Yeah, me too. So, Mr. Max, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everyone into our vote counts. Let me let you know just a little bit about us. We are a nonpartisan coalition of citizens from diverse states and backgrounds, united by a shared commitment to empower voters, promote candidates who stand for integrity, inclusion, accountability in the upcoming elections. Formed by a collection of educators, veterans, small business owners, students, and community advocates, our vote count represents the strength of unity across geography, race, and ideology. While our stories are different, our mission is the same: to ensure that every voice is heard and every vote is true, that every vote truly counts. Through voter education, candidate outreach, and community engagement, we support leaders who are ready to serve the people, not special interests. But by working across state lines and elevating local and national issues, we aim to increase voter turnout, inform public dialogue, and build momentum for lasting change. Our vote count is more than just a name. It's a promise, it's a movement, and it's a rallying cry for democracy. So together we are shaping the future, one informed vote at a time. So thank y'all for joining us. I'm Melanie. This is Sianca. This is Mr. Max here, who is running for South Carolina's first congressional district. So he is trying to get to the Capitol up right here in DC, which is where I am currently. Let me tell y'all just a little bit about Max, and I'm gonna let him finish it off for us. Max is running as a Democratic candidate. From my research, he was born in Buffalo, New York, but he moved to Hanahan, South Carolina as a child and has lived there since 7th grade. His early life included active involvement in community programs like scouting, where he earned the rank of Eagle Scout and later served as an assistant scoutmaster, mentoring young members. So with that being said, Max, can you tell us what led you to run for Congress?
Yeah, what led me to that is it's definitely not the path I set out on when I was in school. You know, I went to school for aircraft maintenance. I went to tech school. That's my day job. Um, I've always been like really involved and like tuned into politics and stuff. But you know, just as a bystander watching and as someone who like I think about the future a lot. And I think about whether as a society we're handling our problems or really taking care of our people or you know, making the right decisions and really doing the prudent thing. And I've just spent my entire adult life watching the answer to all of those questions be no. Um, and you know, just growing discontent with, you know, as you can imagine, I'm running as a Democrat. I'm not necessarily a fan of a lot of the policy of the Republican Party, but I'm really not satisfied with the Democratic Party either. It's become a very stagnant, kind of a faux opposition party, kind of a fake left wing party, honestly. Um, you know, mostly just there to maintain the status quo, and I was looking for, you know, candidates I could support in this election cycle, and I got to the point where I was like, you know what, it might as well be me, because I don't really feel right throwing my weight behind anyone here.
Okay. And so you said you're running as a Democrat, but are you deciding to maybe go independent instead, or you're going to stick with the Democratic Party?
No, I'm gonna stick with the Democratic Party. I'd really like to, the way, I'm kind of a history guy, so the way major change has always happened in the United States is not usually through an independent movement or a new party. It's through one of the existing dominant parties, like
Okay.
shifting its policy and I guess overall goals.
So you want to be part
Um,
of the shift?
yeah,
Okay.
I really, you can see in the constituency of the Democratic Party a really big shift occurring and has been for a while. But, you know, when it comes to the actual legislators, you know, the establishment of the party, that shift hasn't occurred. So I maybe I can be, you know, part of the tip of the spear here.
Well, I can agree with that. A lot of us are not. That we do think that the older generation or established Democrats might need to move over for the newer generation. So we don't necessarily disagree on that. I feel like the Democratic Party in this moment is doing exactly what they need to do. Let them mess up themselves. Anyway, with that being said, we're going to do just a little bit of icebreaker here. So I want to ask you in honor of MLK Day, which was yesterday.
Right.
Give me your favorite MLK quote and or speech.
Hmm.
I put you on the spot there.
Yeah, gee, I don't know. I'll be completely honest with you. He's not a historical figure I've spent like a ton of time reading up on. I can't necessarily just go out and quote him.
Okay. Well, that's your homework. Go find me a MLK quote or speech that resonates with you, because I'm
I
sure
will.
you will find one. You agreed?
Hmm.
Perfect. All right. Well, we are going to get started with Miss Sianca, and she's going to go into our first set of questions. We're going to do about 6 topics, so keep that in mind as you give your answers. And we're going to do 2 things of rapid fire questions, which are just quick answer questions that first are going to be political, and then the next is going to be kind of fun and talking about South Carolina. So take it away, Miss Bianca.
All right. So, do you want me to start with a rapid fire, or do you want me to rapid fire?
No.
Oh, the question. Okay, because I'm about to say I don't think he ready.
No, he ain't
with
ready
that.
yet.
Okay. We don't want to put you on the spot that quick. That quick. So this is about economic and development. So the housing prices and rents in the low country have risen quickly, making it hard for teachers, service workers, and first responders to live near where they work. What would you do to address housing affordability, keeping working families from being priced out of this district? And I also want to add on to that, like there are people who live outside that county to go work in another county.
Hmm.
You know, because since my husband, his family's in Georgetown, most of the family's in Georgetown, and you know that back road, you know, it's a long road. I forgot the number of that road. I travel all the way out there, and you got Hemingway. You know, they work in Hemingway. You could travel all the way out there to Andrews, or travel all the way out there to Myrtle Beach. So, what can you do to make it more, not just affordability, to make it more comfortable where they can locate without going way out of the way to go to work or to do everyday daily things?
Right, I got you. Yeah, no, I got you. First, I want to say a few people in the comments were like, "Come on, man, you know the I have a dream speech," and I do. Of course, I do. You know, I went to grade school. That just in my head, that was such a cop out answer. I couldn't, in all good conscience, even say it.
I
Um,
agree.
but yeah, no. So in terms of housing and stuff, it's a complex issue and it sort of splits itself up in a few different ways. As far as like making, say, like the Charleston or Beaufort area or whatever more livable from like a practical standpoint, um, that is not something someone on the federal level directly does, but you could work with and pressure people on the state and local levels to do the things they need to do about it. A lot of that comes down to city planning and like proper infrastructure and zoning laws, which really hasn't been, I guess, doesn't hasn't been the forefront of anyone's thought as the Charleston area has grown. Which, when you're doing city planning, you really have to think far in advance. So I do have to give some grace to the people in that position. The growth to like the Charleston area specific and a lot of the Low Country it was quite explosive, kind of hard to plan for. But um, from the federal level, the main thing you could tackle is affordability, and that's kind of the way affordability has become an issue all over the country and is definitely a problem in the Low Country. Um, is a really large rise in real estate, land, even apartment complexes and buildings, mainly owned as investment property. I think it's Folly Beach, or Folly Island in general. But Folly only has 1,000 permanent residents on it, and for anyone who's ever been to Folly and seen how many houses, how many residences there are, that's a fraction of what realistically should be able to live on that island. I mean, there's a public school, um, there's emergency services and utilities, mainly just serving and built around this gigantic conglomerate of short-term rentals. I mean, that's basically an entire neighborhood, an entire community that was wiped off the map by investment, and then anyone who does want to live there, I can't even begin to fathom what sort of income you would have to afford to live there, on
Right.
the island.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem. Is enacting policy that will shift land use away from just being a cynical investment asset. And if I've got time, I could go into a couple ways of going about that. Okay.
Give you a little time.
All right. Yeah. No. I'd love to. I love to live in the details. I just sometimes it takes a while. One of the biggest ways is, so you know how we have, it's considered what would be a progressive tax system for the income tax, right?
Mhm.
A solution for what's happening in a lot of places to, land and home prices would be to do a similar thing with, well, land, with property. It would probably have to be a pretty complex bill, because different areas can be affected differently. Like, it couldn't strictly be off acreage, because then you'd really discourage anyone from owning any amount of land, like, way out there. And it also can't be based just on acreage, because you could potentially have a relatively small acreage, but own a multitude of properties in a residential area and absolutely blow up the price of housing, which has happened in many places in the Charleston area. Um, you can also, and there would, of course, there would have to be exceptions for, industry, legitimate business purposes, because you can't just make it through land taxation economically infeasible to, run a business that requires a large plot of land. I mean, I wouldn't, Boeing's one of the largest employers in the Low Country. I wouldn't want them to be in a completely economically, um, distraught place, just because they have a lot of land for their operations. But you can also kind of limit what certain parties can do, in terms of land ownership, like private equity. Let's say they're one of the larger contributing factors to this sort of, investment bubble in housing. Um, that's an institution that has extremely detrimental effects in almost every industry, and I think slowly regulating them out of the real estate market would be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned about land and how it is, I don't want to say organized is the wrong word I want to use, but you also have tourism as well. And that's like the backbone of Charleston, and Hilton Head, economies, because they rely on service workers, seasonal and immigrant labor
Hmm.
as well. But it's also vulnerable to hurricanes, economic turndowns, because you got the peak season and you got the non-peak season of it. So what about um making sure that South Carolina District 1 benefits workers, not just the developers? Like how we ensure economic growth in your district for benefit workers, not just developers. There are a lot of developers. There are a lot of plantations down there. There are a lot of golf courses down there. A whole bunch of just stuff. But what can we benefit the workers? What can we benefit the residents that actually live there?
Right. I mean, this is a pretty universalist approach, especially from. It's one of those things where if you want to support the working people and the American worker, there are certain things that just work across the board and should have been being kept up with for decades at this point. Like the minimum wage is ridiculously behind. Seven no one can live off $7 an hour. It's ridiculous. I
Absolutely.
make I make $17 an hour right now because I switched jobs to a job I did in college. Right now I'm just fueling airplanes at the airport. You know, it just takes less out of me by the end of the day. So when I have to go home from my full-time job and then do my second job campaigning right afterwards for the rest of the day, I have the energy. And right now, you know, I I mean, I have like savings to coast off of, right? From before. I have no idea how like my coworkers make it. I mean, I know a lot of them have roommates and stuff, um, which is kind of part of the way to get by, but that's not a sustainable means of living for anyone, and not a way that you can ever like get ahead or retire. So raising the minimum wage is an extremely important piece of what should be just the agenda for supporting the working class. Um, because historically, people love to kind of muddle in it when we're debating on like the on the national stage, especially from the Republican end. But that was what the minimum wage was for. It wasn't meant for just kids working in a fast food restaurant. You know, this is your minimum baseline for high school employment. I mean, you can argue if that's what it's meant for. Why do you even have a minimum wage if it's only for people who don't have to support themselves? The point of the minimum
Yeah.
wage is so that if you anyone who works full time, who participates full time in society in the workforce, can have a decent standard of living flat out. That was the point from the get go. Um, just factually, historically. Another thing is we are. I mean, yeah, I mean, really, realistically, it could work in any industry. But we are a right to work state here. I do not like that. As someone who is an industrial worker, right? Those were some of the earliest union efforts. Were people in mines and industry. I have a real appreciation for what unionization has, and you know, organized labor generally has done for the quality of life for the American worker and for the worker worldwide in pretty much the entire industrialized world. And the fact that we have laws in this state and in the country that were essentially designed and lobbied for by big business so they could restrict the ability of workers to advocate for their own worth. Um, Frankly, it's a black mark on our history among many.
Absolutely. Thank you for your answers to those questions. I'm gonna hand it off back to Miss Miss Melanie, good Lord. Miss Melanie for healthcare and women's health. Sorry about that, Melanie. Go ahead.
No problem. I have two pages on here, so sometimes they get a little confused with which person shows up or at these town halls. So if anyone has any questions out there, you can request up by hitting the multi-guest. You can ask Mr. Diaz whatever you like within the topics, and then at the end we'll have just open questions for any topic. So if you have any questions about economic development, request up or put your questions in the chat, and we will ask Max those questions. So while y'all type them in, I'll come back to them. I'm going to go ahead and go into healthcare. So many families in South Carolina have insurance, but still struggle with copays, deductibles, and medical bills. And as we know, right now at in the Capitol building, they are having a major battle about whether or not we should have subsidies. I believe they have already passed something that is going to extend it, but why is this a battle? What will you do differently, or how will you reach across the aisle, work with the other side of the aisle to make sure that Americans as a whole and people in District 1 of South Carolina have the health care protections that they need?
Right. Well, personally, I'm on the Bernie bus, man. We absolutely need universal health care. Single payer is the easiest way to transition to that, which is what his Medicare for All plan is. It's a single payer healthcare system. Um, as far as in the short term, obviously the subsidies need to stay. Otherwise, well, the health insurance market implodes and people can't afford health care at all. And that's an unacceptable solution. Um, but that's one of the things split a little bit with. So,
Oh, you froze.
note, I mean, Bernie Sanders is an independent. Um, is typically a lot of the solutions are to go for a public option, which is just health insurance run by the government. You know, it would presumably be at a lower cost because there's no profit motive for a CEO or whatever in the mix. Or to further expand, you know, the ACA subsidies and whatnot, which at that point, if you really want to cover everyone and turn healthcare into the public utility it always should have been and has been for over half a century, like 75 years at this point, in almost the entire rest of the developed world, you need to go to that single payer system because when you keep subsidizing the health insurance industry, you're losing money on that transaction. If you're in a single payer system and it's the government directly paying for everyone's health care, it's just the government paying for directly for everyone's health care. But if your plan to cover Americans is to subsidize the health insurance industry, well, now not only are you paying for everyone's health care costs, you're also paying to bankroll the health insurance industry. It would legitimately be less expensive for the American taxpayer to have a single payer system
Hmm.
that covers everyone universally. It would be less expensive than what we're doing now.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Like, we're going to put the money in anyway. Why not make it benefit us all? I
Hmm.
100% agree with that. Okay, so we already know that you got to go there and you got to work on making sure that the American citizens have health care, right? So the next thing is making sure that our health rights are protected.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of concern about politicians getting involved in very personal medical choices. How would you protect women's productive health care and the right to make private medical decisions for their needs?
Oh, okay, okay. Right, because we're not allowed to say it, right?
Yeah, we can't talk about ABs. This is what we
Yeah,
call it here,
yeah.
but
Um,
yes, that it's, but not just that. I mean, we they've talked about trying to repeal IVFs
that's
and
true. Yeah.
all types of stuff. So women's health care, and it's crazy because we're not. If this was about men, I think there would be a different topic. You know, there would be a whole lot more talking about this. Like, how dare you tell me I have to get a vasectomy, or how dare you tell me I have to get my prostate exam? Like, men will
I
go
can't take a
crazy
blue pill
around
no
this world,
more. Yeah.
but because it's women, it kind of gets brushed under the rug. So, as a man, how will you go and ensure the protections of women's rights with their health care?
Um, I'll be completely honest. As from a policy perspective, it's just nothing I've studied specifically. A lot of my focuses are very like economic, environmental, but at the end of the day, when it comes to like what are my policy goals, what are my beliefs and values,
Mhm.
um, I don't want to restrict anybody's ability, and I don't think it's acceptable to allow anyone else to restrict anyone's ability to access whatever medical care they need. Um, in terms of a lot of these, I mean, you brought up IVF, which is an even more disagreement on IVF is an even more fringe disagreement than on the other one. Um, it's from a very specific niche of essentially religious thought, which I don't I never want to say the wrong thing or have what I'm being said misinterpreted. I want it like from the outset. I'm just gonna like I'm a Catholic. I don't want to make it sound like I'm trashing on religious people when I say this. But when you're trying to live in a society with people of many faiths and beliefs, um, you have to accept ultimately that people aren't always going to have the same religious values as you.
Correct.
And it's absolutely ridiculous to say that my religious values must apply to you.
Right.
Because I would find it unacceptable if someone else were to say their religious values must apply to me and I must follow them. You know, that's really what the separation of church and state is about. It's about people being able to practice a faith if they choose to and not if they don't. And no one's beholden to anyone else's, you know, beliefs or, you know, arbitrary code of ethics aside from the obvious things that we codify into law. You know, like, just don't interfere with someone else's, like, personal, like, don't hurt someone else, right?
Yeah, I agree. Don't infringe on someone else's personal choices and rights. 100% agree with that. My last question, really quickly, is like as me and Miss Sianca pointed out, we know people from very rural areas of South Carolina, specifically in your district. Hospitals are few and far between. Someone I know from there has told me that I believe Georgetown Hospital had closed recently, or the funding was super low on it, or something to that effect. Or it did, but he also mentioned like it's near a cemetery. Like you don't want to be at the hospital that's next to the cemetery, right? No. So with that being said, do you have any plans on bringing funding to District 1 in order to better the hospitals, add more hospitals, expand Medicare access? Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, you could probably guess, but without a doubt, that is something I would feel an intense need to do. I actually, so I mentioned I went to tech school. I finished a bachelor's degree and I worked for a while in Southern Illinois, which little town called Carbondale, Southern Illinois University, and pretty rural, pretty remote place. There were two hospitals covering a pretty large geographic area. And when all of this business about, you know, funding being restricted to rural hospitals and stuff came out, I mean, that was an immediate red flag for me because I've seen firsthand the need. I've seen that both of those hospitals are, on any given night, near or at full capacity. And I from there, I can extrapolate what would happen if even one of them shut down. So, yeah, in our current system, bringing that funding to rural hospitals, to rural America generally, because just throughout history, as progress has marched on, they've often been left behind, is extremely important. The same thing happened with electrification. When electrical utilities were first being introduced, is none of the private electrical utilities companies wanted to bother putting up the infrastructure to reach rural communities, even if they were willing to pay for it. So the government had to step in. And the same thing, you know, is still happening today in healthcare, and the same result is ultimately going to have to happen, is that the government is going to have to step in, because when individual effort and private industry and stuff doesn't work, when it has gaps, when it has its insufficiencies, what else are you to do except for organize a society and decide that our government is going to cover the gaps?
Yeah, that's pretty much the way it has gone at this point. So, I mean, I personally feel like that's what the government is there for. Let's see. You wouldn't talk to me. Okay, so I don't look like I see any questions. Again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll get the questions to Max. If not, you could definitely hit the request button at the bottom there and request up to ask your question. We're going to go ahead and roll back over to Sianca for our next topic.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, which is one of my favorite, is public education. Okay.
All right.
So we already know that there's funding inequality, there's teacher shortages and retention, there's class size, student support, special education, disability services, school safety, career and technical education. So how will you fight funding inequalities between wealthy and under-resourced schools in District 1?
Right, so this is kind of... Oh.
That was a gift. That was a gift.
Oh, okay. This is all kind of come to a head from a long road of undervaluing education and the education system. I would argue some of it deliberately and for political reasons, because, well, a less educated population is more susceptible to, propaganda and voter manipulation. But, yeah, no, proper funding, and not just proper funding, but proper education resources. We're talking about, like, guidelines and curriculums and stuff like that should be, like, completely top standard across every public school in the country. Our public school systems should be so well kept up that there is no conceivable need for a private school system. There's nothing more important or more valuable, or that has a better return on investment for a country than investing in its own citizens' education. And we haven't been doing that. I mean, for someone like me, it shouldn't even stop at normal, K through 12. I mean, preschool, tech school, even four-year institutions. I mean, part of the reason it used to be so cheap to get a college degree is because it was heavily subsidized by the federal government. Public universities were, in that era, it would have been, at least economically speaking, very nice to grow up in. But yeah, no, returning our support, both financial and, institutional, to the education sector is one of the most important things to me.
Absolutely, because my husband and his family told me about the history in some counties where there is a divide. South Carolina, there is a divide there where they want segregation, really, at that time, at that point. And giving the aging schools to poor areas while building lavish, wealthy facilities over in, the wealthy areas, which is not fair. And another thing that's not fair is the delays in evaluation and services. This is about special education disability services. My sister-in-law is in the chat, so she works with in special, I don't think it's special education, but with the babies, though. So there are delays in evaluation and services, staffing shortages for IEP support, parent frustration navigating compliance. So is there a way to streamline this process, especially where if your child is special needs, there should be a counselor or a special needs teacher there. Don't give it to a teacher who is not equipped to deal with special needs children and children who do not need special needs. Is there a way to streamline where the staff is not overworked to accommodate both sides when they don't have that help to help them, if you will? So is there a process that they can that you can help them with in that area, because it's frustrating and it's hurtful to the kids, because kids didn't ask to be here,
Right.
and they shouldn't be thrown in an area where they're not comfortable in or they're not ready for. So what can we do to expand or fund or have special people there for these staff, for the staff to deal with special education disability services?
Right. Well, I feel like that kind of ends up just being a subset of the whole problem with education is that, well, there's not enough resources put into it, right? It wouldn't be a problem if every school, at least every school that had special needs students, had the resources to allocate staff, specific teachers who are trained in special needs education to those tasks.
Absolutely. I would ask another one, but I know we don't have enough time. Oh gosh, I can talk to you all day.
Yeah,
I'll
sorry
right back
for being
to
late.
it.
This is the first time I've done anything with TikTok Live. I did not know exactly what I was supposed to do.
So I'm gonna give it right back to Buttermilk. If anybody got questions about public education, please put it in the chat. If you want to come up, request up. He does not bite. We're still here. Questions about public education, please put it in the chat. If you want to come up, request up. He does not bite. We're still here. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Well, I see someone say I just saw a comment that said there's also a teacher shortage, and a big part of that is just, well, frankly, we don't pay teachers enough. If there's no security, if there's no financial security into going into a certain field, people just aren't going to go into that field, if they can't make a life out of it. And I don't even know how many people I've met, both my age, older, sometimes even younger, who are like, yeah, being a teacher would be a good job. It would feel real rewarding, but also I'd live in abject poverty, so I'm not going to do that. So, I hate to say sometimes the answer is to just throw money at a problem, but sometimes it is just to throw money at a problem. If, say, the problem is you don't pay this certain staff enough. Everything's ultimately a problem of resource allocation, and we have a lot of resources. We really have enough resources to do everything we need, realistically. We just don't allocate it in a very wise or humane way.
Absolutely. I wish there was a way where funding can be equal. It could be equal. This right back to, and exactly, Miss Cynthia Washington, definitely underworked and overworked. Underpaid and overworked. Absolutely. We have public safety and immigration with Melanie. Take it over, Melanie.
That I will be doing right after she do her rapid fire.
All right, Max, we're going to do something a little fun, but it's going to be on a political side. It's called rapid fire. So make sure you check your pulse real quick, because you're going to be some short answers. Okay, you got to be spot on. All right, here we go. Should Congress expand telehealth for women's health care? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Should federal funds incentivize OBGYNs to practice in underserved areas?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really big problem in South Carolina. There's several large townships that don't have one. There's a few counties, I think, that don't even have one.
Yes or no, should women have access to preventative care regardless of income?
Yes.
All right, and I am a veteran, so I had to put my little questions in there too. So do you support expanding VA specialty care referrals when local VA services are delayed?
Yes.
All right, and should veterans have guaranteed access to mental health services within 30 days?
Oh, yeah.
All right, he passed the test, Buttermilk. You passed the test.
Yay!
Passed the test. Yes.
All
All right. So I'm gonna give them right back to you, Melanie, for
Yes.
public safety and immigration.
I'm gonna ask the real hard questions later. But public safety. So what does public safety entail? It's about police, it's about EMS, it's about our neighborhoods, right? So people want to feel safe in their neighborhoods, but also want trust between residents and law enforcement. What would you do at the federal level to improve public safety while making sure communities and police work together effectively?
That's actually a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not sure. I've thought a lot about ways that you could. I guess there are certain like federal level police codes and like conduct guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the things I've thought of, like just mulling around these sorts of issues in my head, are usually more at like a local district level or something. Um, you know, talking about like how you organize, say, a given police department. Um, Obviously, as you might imagine, I believe the police are too militarized. In many ways, it's the entire just justice system is well punitive. It's all based around crime and punishment. Very rarely is any sort of rehabilitation the focus or genuine community outreach the focus. Um, one on when it comes to like negative police community interactions, I've always had one story kind of stick out to me from actually a friend of mine from when I lived in Illinois. Um, I He for a while worked as a corrections officer in a prison, and talk about like the nicest, like most progressive guy you've ever met, just genuine gem of a person, give you the shirt off his back. And he was a corrections officer before I met him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, he'd kind of done an abrupt career change to get into the career where I met him because we were coworkers. He kind of just dropped what he was doing and switched, and he was like, it's because I just had to stop. Every day I deal with, it's just aggression all day. I am in a position where I'm supposed to be unfriendly to other people, and that spilled into the rest of my life. It started to become the way I behaved habitually, and it was very unhealthy for me, and I couldn't keep it up. And that's not just going to apply to correctional officers. That's going to apply to normal police force too. And I've thought about, and maybe this could be a federal guideline. I don't know. I don't know whether or not it would be overreach on the part of federal governance or not. I can't think of necessarily why it would be unconstitutional or something, but I think the way maybe law enforcement work should be is essentially on rotating shifts, like long-term rotating shifts, like
Yes.
3 months on, 3 months off, 6 months on, 6 months off, something like that.
Kind of
So that you have a
decompress.
long period of decompression
Mm-hmm.
between every period of constant stress, so that sometimes law enforcement can attract a certain type of person who wants to be in that sort of power role, but in other cases, it can have a negative effect on perfectly decent people. And if you give them that time to decompress, you put them in just an administrative role for half the year, right? That could be a really good solution to that problem. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I don't think we do think about that aspect of law enforcement, that they dealing with aggression, so they have to be aggressive. And
Mhm.
it could definitely shift into their everyday lives. And I don't think I've ever thought about it, but maybe that's why I don't want to date cops. I don't know.
And I mean, you can just develop a short fuse on the job from it. I mean, when you go into every situation, every situation, maybe not necessarily even every day, a police officer is dealing with, aggression or unpleasantness. But having the knowledge and the recency bias of knowing that any given situation you're walking into could already be something unpleasant waiting to unwrap, that's just going to put you in a bad mood from the start anytime you're doing anything.
Absolutely. Well, one of the major public safety things that is happening right now is the frozen people that are out in these streets. And the rhetoric coming from this administration is that they're there to make us safe from the big bad immigrant. What is your plans if we still having this issue when you get to Congress to rein in their power and hold them accountable for any injustices they may push upon the people?
First off, unlike many of the Democratic delegates to Congress, not capitulate and vote to approve their funding.
That would be a start.
It really just doesn't take a genius or some, sophisticated person of political thought to see that this is absolutely not legitimate law enforcement activity. This really is just, it's meant to, can I say that? It's meant to be an squad that instills fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to impose the will of an administration, whether or not people like it or not. It's essentially become a secret police force, right? Except not as secret as any competent administration would like it to be. But yeah, no, that government institution needs to be completely torn down. It's
Okay. So if that bill was brought to the floor, that someone presented a bill that we abolish ICE, the whole, not just what it is today, but the whole system as a whole, that we no longer need a force to gather people who are here illegally, would you vote yes on that?
I'm half and half. I have it's something I'd really have to debate on because I think as the original intent goes, it is meant to just enforce the basics of hey, if you overstayed your visa, you have to go back. Come on. But also the institution as it exists now has become so rotten from the bottom up that I think it needs to be completely torn down and rebuilt as a legitimate law enforcement branch, as it was supposed to be in the first place. So I think I'd answer yes, with sort of the caveat that I'd expect them to rebuild a legitimate institution in its place to do the legitimate functions it was supposed to serve.
All right. Well, we have Mr. Mike. I'm gonna probably mess this up. Hendrick, Mike H. Yes, thank you. Mike H. Who is also running for Congress. He totally 100% agrees with you. He said he'd like to vote yes on that as long as we can replace it with something that functions as immigration and not terrorizing Americans.
Right.
So there's someone who could be part of your class that is already on the same page with you.
Hey, that would be awesome.
Good job. Good job. Okay, so I'm gonna pass this back to Sianca for the environment, and then when she give it back to me, we're gonna do some fun rapid fire questions.
Alrighty, so this is also one of my favorite ones, environmental issues.
I think
and
it's his too. He did say that's what he's been focusing about, the environment. So.
all right, well, let's see. We're gonna focus on it, right? So the coastal flooding and the sea level rise. So of course, you live on the coast, you're gonna deal with what? Water.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what comes with the water with your house? Insurance. So, what can be an affordable tactic for people who lives in the water and they have to have flood insurance, but will it be affordable? And I don't want to say, because I would like to live on water, but not like right there, but to see it, but not right there. People have it. But what can be done to make flooding insurance affordable? And it has to be mandatory, but affordable, So how can we fix that?
Well, there's, I guess, a couple ways. One would be, and I think it would be a little nicer, would be essentially a public emergency fund. I don't really like private insurance as an industry. It tends to be pretty predatory. I'm more of a fan of saying in emergencies, in disasters, especially natural disasters such as a flood, you know, that's part of the point of having a government. That's why we pool our resources together in that way. It's so that we can respond to emergencies. So personally, on a personal level, I like more of a public relief fund. You could make the argument for doing the same thing that we do to health insurance and subsidize the insurance industries, but I feel like that's a waste of money compared to just giving relief directly.
Absolutely. And also for, like in Georgetown, it was flooding there because you got these little lakes and you got these little creeks and you got these little rivers there too. So to add on to that question, is there something where they can be covered on because they didn't build these lakes and rivers and creeks and stuff? So is there a way they can be relieved, without, that's the wrong way of saying it, but of getting aid for that without the insurance going high and all this other stuff? So is there a way for them as well who was inland?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why the same thing couldn't apply. Essentially, a disaster relief fund. It doesn't necessarily have to be specific. It can just be, look, this is the way the world's going. Climate change is increasing flood risks in many places that normally never even had to deal with it, or overdevelopment is increasing flood risks in places that never had to deal with it. Insurance prices are just going to keep going up. This is not a sustainable solution, either for the economy or for the people in it. And we're just going to take the issue over. It's kind of like having a state pension fund. I mean, we have those. There's no reason we couldn't have a disaster relief fund for stuff like that. I mean, we already have our emergency response teams and stuff. We already pay for that.
Absolutely. And for those who live out in rural, because most of my family live in that rural country area, and some of those areas are hard to reach, them as well, because we don't want to leave them out either. Should Congress invest more in pre-disaster mitigation rather than post-disaster aid? What do you think?
Yeah, you're gonna save time, money, and heartbreak if you invest in prevention rather than later treatment, to use a medical analogy, right? I mean, if we've known, or at least Mobil Gas Company has known about climate change since 1977. They funded the original comprehensive studies on it. before even like NASA or NOAA or any of those or government organizations did it. And of course, it was a privately funded study. They owned the rights to it. They immediately buried it because it made them look terrible. And it made it
Mm.
clear that people need to go away from fossil fuels and shouldn't be burning as much gas. And they didn't like that. Now, the amount of money we've spent on increased, flooding, droughts, wildfires, etc., already, and is going to continue to eclipse the amount of money it would have taken thus far to have just gone with power sources that don't emit carbon.
Mm. Wow.
And that still applies now. I mean, like if it is still cheaper to switch to non-polluting forms of energy than to continue dealing with worsening disasters that are going to strain and destroy infrastructure and whatnot.
Absolutely. And my generation, I would like that idea. I would like that, but you also have the older generation that's still like, no, it's. And I understand because they've gone with it for a long time, and it's going to be hard for them to let go of the old and come into the new, where it's supposed to be better and healthier as well to keep our lovely earth good. One more question, Better Mel, because I got to talk about your drinking water. Okay,
Mhm.
I cannot drink. Sorry, I'm sorry. What can we do about the drinking water? It just tastes
I
weird
don't
to
want to drink
me.
it either.
It just tastes weird to me. Because people got well water, people got water from the water tank. So what can we? Come on, Max, give me something. Give me something.
Well, we could always flavor the water treatment. We could do that. Um,
Can you
I
elaborate on
don't
that?
know. I don't know what to do about the flavor of the water. I mean, just anywhere you go, based on whatever the water tables look like and whatever water source you have, it always tastes different. Yeah, as long as it's clean, there's not a whole lot that can be done about it.
Well, thank you for being honest.
I mean, but it might be the piping that's very old in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Potentially, actually, I was just visiting. I had a wedding for an old friend up in Buffalo, New York, and there's a pretty big push to switch to newer copper piping. Um, considering that I should actually look into that. There's a very good chance we still have old lead pipes. We should probably start that initiative.
There you go.
And probably, yeah, there.
That would be a great idea.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Max, for
Are you
answering those
aware,
questions.
Max, that I'm sorry, I see that the Biden administration had put forth money to help places like
Right.
Rural Mississippi, Alabama,
Yep.
to help with their sewage
Mhm.
infrastructure, their piping and everything, and
Yep.
got repealed. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, actually, I was. A lot of environmental stuff is getting repealed right now, and that doesn't make Max very happy. Um,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
Tell me about it.
Hey.
Well, a lot of emission standards are being repealed. All fossil fuel companies are being heavily subsidized. Right now, it didn't go through, but there was a big push to open up almost all of our public lands, like Bureau of Land Management land to private development. That one was like a nightmare scenario for me, and right now um it's still in the wings as a proposed bill, and I'm really hoping they just forget about it and never touch it again.
Yes, agreed. And so you're a nature boy.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the Scouts. It's I don't know. It's my favorite thing. It's where I feel at peace. No one's bothering me. Everything's right with the world, and yeah, that's really the thing that got me into politics more than anything is kind of having the knowledge that if we don't do something, I am going to have to personally watch everything that I care most about wither to a husk.
Agree.
Absolutely.
All right. What is all your questions, ma'am?
That's that's. I'm not gonna go on a rant. I'm not gonna do it. I know you can't control mosquitoes. I know you can't control water bugs or anything like
Actually, you
that.
kind of can. There have been plans to control mosquitoes, and it's to release sterile mosquitoes into the breeding population that, not sterile mosquitoes, but they'll produce sterile offspring. And it'll slowly reduce the mosquito population. And funny thing about mosquitoes is, a lot of times when you talk about something being a pest, it usually has like some important environmental role, and you don't want to mess with it too much. There have been some studies done about like what would happen if we really got rid of the mosquitoes, and the answer was not much. We pretty much just could, and it wouldn't matter.
Okay. Well, that's your first bill, sir. That's your first bill.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Get rid of the mosquitoes. I'm for it. You will win everybody's vote.
And water bugs too, and spiders, all that. Get rid of all that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Melanie.
All right. All right. So let's go into these fun rapid fire questions. Are you ready, Max?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Text or call?
Oh, text.
It's okay. Gold or silver?
Silver.
Okay. Would you rather be the smartest or the richest?
Do I if I'm the richest, am I at least, I don't get dumber, do I? Like I'm as smart as I am now?
You're still as smart as you are now.
Okay. Well, you know what? Smart people, despite the fact that they don't always have a lot of influence. So I'm going to say I could do a lot more good as the richest.
Okay. Would you rather see the future or change the past?
Ooh, I guess I'd rather see the future. Changing the past is dangerous.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Bar soap or body wash?
Bar soap.
You like a bar soap guy. All right. Myrtle Beach or Charleston?
Oh, Charleston.
Okay.
Yeah, I live in Charleston. I can't.
Yeah, got to go with Charleston. Boiled peanuts or pimento cheese?
Pimento cheese.
Okay, good.
Now, this is something I learned. A chicken bog or shrimp and grits. You know what a chicken bog is?
I don't.
Oh, they said it's a South Carolina dish, which is rice, chicken, and salsa.
Perlo. Chicken perlo.
Okay. Yeah.
Perlo.
Okay. Well, that's what it's called, chicken perlo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it said chicken bog when in my research. So, chicken perlo or shrimp and grits.
Chicken perlo.
Oh wow. Okay. Now, this was also something that they said was unique to the area. A Benny wafer. BENNE. It's like a sesame wafer.
Yeah. No, actually, okay. I just had some of those over Christmas.
Okay. So a Benny wafer or a peach cobbler?
Oh, a Benny wafer.
Oh wow. Okay. Fresh sweet tea or fresh lemonade?
Fresh sweet tea.
He won your vote back, Sianca. Last question. Clemson or USC?
Oh Lord.
Man, I've always followed the NFL. I always stuck with the Bills, but
Oh, y'all went home. Sorry.
Yeah, that was a rough one. Didn't have a good night that night. Yeah. But I'm gonna go with Clemson. A lot of my closer friends are definitely more Clemson.
Okay. All righty. Well, good job on that. You can come off the hot seat now.
All right. Gamecocks or Bulldogs?
Gamecocks.
Oh, I'm sorry, honey, if you're listening. He says Gamecocks.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I genuinely had a great time. I'm so glad I came on tonight.
Yep. Wait, I got a few more
You ain't
questions. We
Oh,
got
oh,
one
oh, we do.
more.
Oh, sweet.
That was just our rapid fire. This is our last topics, which is about local issues and constituent focus. Okay.
Hmm.
So a lot of people feel like once the elections are over, it is hard to reach their representatives. How would you make sure people in your district can actually reach you and get the help that they need?
Um. Well, I guess one of the reasons that it might be hard might be just communications volume. Um, part of what would help with that would just be having a large enough staff to address it. But even then, I've never been the kind of person who would just want staff addressing that sort of thing. I'd always want to address things myself if I could, at least to the best of my ability. Um, I don't know. I'd probably just because generally the contact avenues you have are either an office phone or an email, and unlike most representatives, I guess, I'd probably carry the office phone just around on my person as a cell phone, and the email would not be like, a third party email. It would just be my direct official email. And from there, assuming it wasn't just straight up too much communication to handle, I just try and, well, do my job and communicate with my constituents as much as possible.
Okay. All right. You could also do town halls.
Oh, true. No, I wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah, of course. I was more thinking like, oh, I'm up in Washington. I've got to take calls. But yeah, no, I mean that's for like when I have my fantasies of what if I do get elected. That's one of the things I kind of in the hypothetical look forward to most while I'm in my periods, you know, down at home
Hmm.
is, having that sort of in-person contact with constituents. I've even thought about just, well, continuing the door knocking, like sure I'm
That'd
doing
be
that
good.
while I'm campaigning, but wouldn't it be for one thing helpful and second of all kind of funny if your congressman just knocked on your door and asked you what you needed?
Absolutely. It'd be great. It'd be great. You should start that trend for sure.
Mhm.
All right. Well, your district includes the coastal communities, suburbs, and working class neighborhoods with different needs. How would you stay connected to all parts of your district and make sure local voices shape your decisions in Congress?
Well, part of that is just traveling around, meeting everyone from your district, still engaging in the local events and the local party meetings, and not even necessarily, shoot, as a Democratic congressman, I could just show up to Republican party meetings. Nothing stopping me. I can still hear their needs and concerns. So just, I mean, having those town halls, just continuing to be an involved part of the community, not becoming disconnected. It's really when I just think about it in my head, like in theory, it should be a lot easier than a lot of representatives make it seem.
Yeah. Yeah. So based on what you've already observed, what do you think is the biggest issue for people in your district?
Um, like from their perspective or mine.
Yes, from their perspective and from yours. What have you maybe heard from them, and then what do you think is important?
Okay, I'll start from their perspective, which I mean, shoot, it's pretty much what it is for everyone. It's just got to be cost of living. I mean, it's gotten especially in Charleston, but in the Low Country overall. I mean, pretty much everywhere I go because of the development of Charleston and Beaufort, kind of on opposite ends of the district. It just got really expensive to live around here really fast, and the wages and community services and infrastructure just didn't keep up. And that's sort of the number one thing to help people with. That's number one thing people are concerned with.
Yes.
On a personal level, is climate change, just because that's existential stuff, man. That's like coming for us all. It's going to affect pretty much every facet of life sooner or later, and it's something we've got to get ahead of and just stop now before things get rough.
Understand that. Well, that was all the questions I have for you. I did have a question from the audience. They said since you kind of couldn't answer the MLK question, they would like to know who is your favorite historical figure.
That's a really good question. I feel like at the end of the day, it's probably got to be FDR. Um, out of anyone, out of any administration, that his tenure plus a little bit of Truman's on the back end, because Truman was pretty good too. Just did the absolute most for the average working person in the United States. I mean, those New Deal policies are the reason that we had the greatest period of economic uplift in the history of the planet. You know, that wealth didn't have to be shared. That could have gone directly to all of the oil tycoons and industry owners, but because we had policies at the time that favored the people and made sure they were treated fairly with fair wage and labor standards and consumer protections and all that, people actually shared in the prosperity for once.
Okay. I mean, would you think that people thought that was overreach today? They would think that that was overreach. They probably did then, but
Well, that there were definitely detractors then, but it was such an emergency situation that no one really cared. People would definitely see it as overreach today, and or at least certain people would. Pretty much every Republican and most of the Democrats would. And it's just, frankly, it's because of the damage that the Reagan Revolution did to everyone's idea of the role of government, and private industry. And I could go on for hours about that. Ronald Reagan is my,
least
like,
favorite.
actually, yes. Yeah, possibly my single least favorite historical figure.
Okay. Understood. Well, that was an answer for you. You got that, Miss Risa? All right. Well, Sianca's going to lead us on out of here. She's going to give you a closing question or two, and then thank you for being here. So that's all I have for you. Thank you. Go ahead, C.
All righty. I almost forgot my thought here. So, so when people leave tonight, what's the one thing you want them to remember about you, who you are, and why you're running?
Ultimately, it's this. It's the fact that I started running because I wanted to solve the problem. I want to solve problems. I want to solve the problems that, well, we used to solve back when we had a functioning, somewhat collaborative government. Problems like climate change, problems like the cost of living, problems like the cost of healthcare, problems like poor infrastructure management. All of those, genuinely useful, pragmatic housekeeping things that have been put aside for decades because, politicians like to divide us and get it bickering with each other over, this, that, and the other personal differences.
Absolutely. And I wish you the best in this upcoming. When is the big
Primary?
batch? Yeah, the primary.
Primary is June 9th. And if there's a runoff, it'll be June 23rd.
All right, so June 9th, June 23rd, District 1 in South Carolina. go out, do some more research about Max. Max, are you doing any other meet and greets or anything like that in District 1?
Yeah, I've actually got a couple of things lined up right now. I'm speaking at a few in in 2 days. On Thursday, I'm speaking at the Flowertown Democrats in Somerville.
Okay.
Um, early in the month, I'm gonna be speaking at the um, Charleston County Democratic Women. They're hosting a forum for all the candidates in District 1. Right now, I'm me and someone within the primary that I'm actually quite friendly with. His name's Matt Fulmer. We're trying to plan actually a dual town hall together. We're looking at mid to late February, and also Sun City Democrats of Sun City. There's another big candidates forum there. I'm gonna be there. There. There's like an organizers fair
Okay.
this Saturday, the 24th, in Brittlebank Park. That's I'm going to be there. There's going to be a lot of different, like, basically just not necessarily even democratic, but progressive institutions there. There to network and organize and stuff. So yeah, I'm making my way around the district the next month and a half.
All right, and we see behind you, behind your lovely head, we have www.maxdiazforcongress.com. Go ahead and check them out, and they can also donate to your campaign, correct?
Right. Yep. I have a donation link on the website, and something. If anyone is, likes what I'm saying, if anyone really agrees with the policies and stuff, anyone who's in District 1 in the Low Country who's seeing this, if you ever want to volunteer, that I like that even more than donations, because I think personal outreach is way more important to voters than anything you can do with money generally.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Max. Thank you, Ms. Melanie, for having me as your co-moderator. This was very special to me. Because like I said, South Carolina is a special place, another special place in my heart. Because my husband's from South Carolina. My in-laws are from there. My sister-in-law right here, Cynthia Washington. I love you, sis. So I'm doing this for them, even though I live in North Carolina. And I'm also from New York, from Long Island. So
Yeah, my dad's from Long Island.
Y'all sister states. I mean, I'm just saying, y'all sister states.
Exactly. So this was very special, and I forced Melanie to have me on here because I had to be here to meet you. And no, I'm just joking. But just to meet you and to ask questions from people who are dear to my heart, give them information, go out there, look up Max Diaz, look him up, ask him questions, challenge him. He won't bite. I'm telling you, he won't. But I thank you, everybody. I thank you, chat. I thank you, honey. Thank you, chat. Thank you, OVC, for hosting. Thank you, Melanie, once again for co-hosting. We have another one up tonight at 8:00, Max. So if you don't have anything to do, grab your sweet tea, grab you a plate of perlo or chicken perlo, but a little bit of hot sauce on there and cornbread right there.
Hot sauce and cornbread.
Yes, sir. And you're going to have who we have, Alan Henderson tonight at 8:00. And can you put him on the big screen, please? Because I cannot see. Oh, he's from Florida. He's a mayor, Tampa mayor. He's running in Florida. I think he's in District 6, if I'm not mistaken. But I know he's a mayor for Tampa. So he's coming up at 8:00 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. So invite other people, invite your friend, your aunt, your dog, everybody. Invite everybody tonight at 8:00. And he's a young mayor that's running too, as well. So I can't wait to see that. So Alvo Counts, I'm gonna go out again and tell you what Alvo Counts is. Alvo Counts is a nonpartisan coalition of citizens from diverse states and backgrounds united by a shared commitment to empowering voters and promoting candidates who stand for integrity, like Mr. Max Diaz here, inclusion and accountability in the upcoming elections. Okay, so our vote count is more than a name, people. It's a promise, it's a movement, and a rallying cry for democracy. So together, we are shaping the future, one vote at a time. And remember, your vote is your what?
Power.
Your power. All right. Thank you, Max Diaz. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.